What's up guys, Dylan here from 8 Daily Sins. Welcome to Tarantula Thursday. Today we're going to take a deep dive into husbandry. I'm going to show you how I set up my enclosures. I'm going to show you what kind of enclosures you can use. I'm going to show you the dimensions. I'm going to show you the plants. I use fake plants here, but I can issue a list of what kind of plants are safe and not safe for enclosures. I can show you water dishes, substrate, all kinds of stuff that I use here to keep my animals healthy. Anybody that knows me, I'm very picky about what I put in my enclosures, and I'm very picky about how I set them up. I set them up to kind of what the natural habitat is. So today I'll be showing you, we'll be diving pretty deep into this stuff, so let's get started. Alright, so first things first, just bought a spider, you got a home, you're excited to set it up. What are you going to put it in? This is where it all starts, guys. This is the most exciting part, is picking out enclosures. Let's get to it. So slings, 1/2 inch, I'd say up to a 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch to up to a 1/2 inch. 2 ounce deli cups. They work great, they're cheap, you can get them at Walmart for like $4 or something like that. For a box, or you want something a little bigger, 4 ounce deli cups. These are really cheap, they're good. You can poke holes in the top and in the sides. These, I would say max size would probably be about 1 inch. I wouldn't put anything bigger than 1 inch in one of these. Or these are my personal favorite, 7 ounce square delis. They come from Superior Shipping Supplies. I'll put the link in the description below. They stack really nice. I raise all kinds of stuff here in these. They work fantastic. Now let's say you got something a little bit bigger. These are 24 ounce square delis. You label it up here. Holes are already poked. These are also at Superior Shipping Supplies. I'll go ahead and toss that link down there. 24 ounce square delis. Up to this species Rotan, you know, almost hitting 2 inches. So good size on these. Also, love these. This is empty, so don't worry about it getting tossed. Spider vials. They're 13 drams. These come from Spider Shop. I can also put the link down below for these. They work great. They have pre-drilled holes here. They work great for small arboreals. I would say up to 1 inch. You don't want to put anything bigger than 1 inch in those. So, you might say, what if you got something bigger? Let's get to that. So, I have these. These are the 80 ounce square delis. These also come from Superior Shipping Supplies. They're pre-drilled, top and middle, which allows for great airflow. You can keep up to, I would say probably like a 3 inch spider in one of these comfortably. Okay. And then if you're looking for something bigger than that, I have these. These are the tubs from Amazon. I'm not really sure on the dimensions on these, or the, you know, the dram size and what have you. I'm not really sure on that, but they're pretty large. You can put an adult spider in those. That one houses my adult species cow sock, my ornithoctonus cow sock earth tiger. She's right around 4.5 to 5 inches, and she's perfect in there. Glass. Let's talk glass. Really nice, a little bit pricey. You can use them. They're great. This one is Zilla Creatures 8x8x12, or you can use the Exoterra 8x8x12. I have a 12x12x18 over there. Glass works great. Just know if you're going to buy glass for every spider that you have, it's probably going to add up pretty quick. As you're raising up slings and juveniles and stuff, you kind of want to be cost effective. You don't want to run into the issue of, holy cow, I went out and bought my 2-inch spider a $40 enclosure. It's gonna hurt in the long run. So you want to work with like acrylics and things like that at first. Once you have a 4 or 5-inch spider, go for it. Put it in something glass, set it up in its forever home. It works perfect. Also, while we're here, show you these. These come from Walmart. Food storage containers. The holes I drilled out with a Dremel. Just kind of use your, I don't have like a specific size, just kind of use your best judgment to where the spider can't get out. And this one holds my Ceratogyrus brachycephalus female. I have her raised up in here. Critter keepers. You can use them. I see a lot of back and forth about critter keepers. They do look tacky. I keep my crickets in them. They work great for a temporary enclosure. These guys, this is all I had when they got here, but eventually they're going to move over into, I want to put them into like a herb coal or a glass enclosure. This is a Pamphobedius species Duran female, and this is all I had when she got in here, so it works for now. Critter keepers, some people are like, don't use them, they look tacky, they suck. I think they're great. They have great airflow, a little bit too much airflow. You obviously don't want to put like a humid species in here. Even Pamphobedius, it doesn't really allow for a lot of like moisture retention. So you want to keep them kind of like Pamphobedius, Senestus. You want to keep them kind of like on the damp side because they like that humidity. So critter keepers are great. Just know that there's a little bit too much airflow. All right. These also come from Walmart. Great little enclosures. This is a Hogna carolinensis in here. Again, drill holes, throw some substrate in there. Works great. All right, now that that part's done, let's get into step 2. What do you use for substrate? I'll let you know in just a second. All right, step 2, substrate. You want to use things that are natural to the animal's environment, or similar. You want to use peat moss mainly, sphagnum moss. I use jungle mix personally. I used to use Reptus oil, but jungle mix kind of allows water to flow into the substrate more, and I prefer that since I keep a lot of Asian fossorials and Asian arboreals and stuff like that. You can use peat moss from Lowe's. Go grab yourself a big cube of peat moss, sphagnum moss, sand, and just grab a big tote, mix it up. Substrate is relatively easy to make. However, you don't want to keep tarantulas on any kind of like miracle grow, any kind of chemicals like that to help plants grow. Don't use that. It could be harmful to your spiders. Also, be careful if there's any kind of eucalyptus or anything like that, mint, any kind of aromatic plant or tree. you kind of want to stray away from that. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty open to what you can use. Plants, any kind of plants, like live plants, pothos, anything you get in the garden center at Lowe's or Home Depot is great. Again, keep away from eucalyptus, mint, birch, things like that. Stuff with like aromatic stuff you could smell. Kind of stray away from that. It can be harmful to your tarantulas. You can use leaf litter. Make it look more realistic, especially for arboreals. You know, set the cork bark up, use leaf litter. So let's go through it real quick. This is my Poecilotheria metallica female. She's currently gravid. So she got a big butt. As you can see, I keep my enclosures pretty well basic. There's no crazy games or anything like that. My enclosures are built to be functional. Some people get really creative, and I love that. You know, I love when you do a drainage layer, do live plants, you know, things like that. I just have cork bark, sphagnum moss, a water dish. I use the 2-ounce deli cups for water dishes. Things like that work great. So let's move on. This is a fossorial. This is my Cereopagopus Bachma. I use these Zilla Creatures enclosures, fill it pretty deep with substrate, allow it to settle. So what I mean by that is when you put substrate in here, it's going to look full. You're going to dump substrate in there, it's going to be up to about here, like way up, you know, level of substrate. When you add water, it's going to compact. So allow yourself that little bit of room to have that substrate kind of sink down. Don't short yourself. Obviously you don't want to put too little. Like I would never put my Bachma in an enclosure like this where she has nowhere to burrow. I would have an angry defensive spider 100% of the time. Fossorials, they like to burrow, they like to stay down. So you want to allow them that. Another setup would be, let's say you bought a Formingocylus or a Lampropelma or something along those lines where they're listed as fossorial, but they're also, or they're listed as arboreal, but they're also fossorial. So what do I mean by that? Here's my Formingocylus arboricola female. As you can see, I got deep substrate because she did burrow. She's down in here. I have a piece of cork bark right here because she will come out on top at night. She'll kind of hang out. Okay, so we went through arboreal, fossorial, semi-fossorial, terrestrial, any kind of Brachypelma, tilticatl, any kind of South American Mexico species that lives above ground, a Faunopelma, things like that. They like to live above ground. So again, this is a critter keeper. Some people frown upon critter keepers. This is my Pamphobedius machala female. She lives, as you can see, 100% of the time, just hanging out. Now, if you have a Pamphobedius, Formictopus, Xenestus, Theraphosa, Acanthoscuria, any of the big bird eaters, any of the big bird eater species that get 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 inches leg span as adults, they're going to want humidity. How are you going to do that? Well, let's go to step 3. Alright, so step 3, keeping humidity in the enclosures. I live in Colorado. It's very dry. It's like the desert out here. It sucks. Some people may live where it's, you know, humid, which really helps with things. It really helps with keeping the substrate a little bit more humid for longer. Here in Colorado, I have to find ways to kind of get around it. So what I do is, let's use this Pamphobeteus for an example. I made her substrate, I would say 4 inches deep. Probably. Don't focus on spraying. You're gonna, one, run out of water really fast, and two, it doesn't keep the substrate damp enough. So when you spray, it just kind of sits on top, right? So what you want to do is run water down the sides into the substrate. I could show you that real quick. So this is the Machala female. Sorry about that. So what you want to do, sorry if I'm making everybody dizzy here, I'm just using one hand to pump up my water bottle. So a lot of people, you know, they'll just kind of do one of these and they'll spray around, but it doesn't really get the substrate damp enough. So what you want to do, and what I like to do, and it's very satisfying to watch, run this water, put it on straight stream on your water bottle, run this water down the sides, and you'll see it drain. I don't know if it's picking up on the camera, but you'll see it drain down to the bottom layers. And what you want to do is hit that on all 4 sides. And again, I don't know if it picks up for the camera, but you can kind of see the water going down into the substrate. That works better than any spraying that you may do. That works better than really anything. It'll keep those bottom layers damp. You'll always have constant humidity coming from the bottom layers, so there will always be that humidity. With humidity, you'll want airflow. You don't want to have stagnant. If you were to put her in a closed box, this substrate would stay damp for longer, and you don't have to do that as often. With humidity, the way it works, comes in, hits the substrate, and then the airflow comes up. Does that make sense? So I got a fan going, it comes in, hits the substrate, aerates it a little, and the humidity comes out. And that's why airflow is very, very important for humid species. Without that airflow, air goes in and there ain't nowhere to go. It becomes a box of nightmares, essentially. So whatever enclosure you use, you're going to want it to have great airflow. These critter keepers have kind of a netted top, so no matter what, you're going to have that airflow. It's going to come in and it's going to be able to breathe, essentially. You're not going to end up with mold. You're not going to end up with stagnant air for your tarantula, and your tarantula is going to thank you for not keeping it in a stuffy box. Alright, let's get back for step 4. So step 4, and it's a step that a lot of people forget. Water dish. Don't forget to give your spider a water dish. Anything over like an inch, inch and a half is going to need some type of water dish. 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch slings like that, you can just get away with like misting the side and they'll drink it off the side. Any kind of 1 inch, 1.5 inch or bigger, you're going to want to do a water dish. It's to keep your spider hydrated. Dehydration is big in these guys. I can't stress enough how important water is. So what you want to do, let's say you have let's say you have a 1/2 inch or an 1.5 inch sling. I don't have any here right now, or actually I do. I can use this. 1.5 inch. You'll want something about this size. It's about the size of a Sprite cap. So Sprite, Coke, whatever. It's about the size of that cap. Okay? Moving up from there, let's say you got 2.5, 3-inch spider. I use these. These are just 2-ounce deli cups. Make a little burrow with your finger in the substrate in the corner. Pop that in there. Fill it with water. When you have a water dish, count it as an extra chore because they get really gross. Your spider is going to web it over. Your spider is going to drop its extra crickets, roaches, superworms, whatever you feed it. It's going to drop it in that water dish. It's going to get really gross. Be ready to clean them. Just know it smells really bad. It's pretty gross. So what you want to do, and what I do, is I take these and I rinse them out like this in the sink, and you make sure like you'll feel like it'll be like slippery, almost like a slime buildup. Sometimes even after like a day of it being in there. So what you want to do is go like this, rinse it out, dump it out a couple times, and then just put it back in the enclosure. If it gets really gross, like if it gets pooped in or something like that, these are cheap. Toss that old one away and just put a new one in there. Another thing with water dishes, make sure they're not too shallow or too deep. So make sure they're fitting to your spider. They can climb out of water dishes by themselves, but I don't always like to take that chance. Just because, you know, some of these guys are pretty pricey, and you want them to get to adulthood without any issues, especially drowning in a water dish. You can go out and buy, I don't know if I have any here, maybe one like this. These are made by Exoterra. So these are fancy water dishes, like they're like ceramic. And you can go out and buy these. I'm not saying don't. If you want your enclosure to look cool, they have these cool little water dishes. When you have a lot of spiders like I do, and you have a lot of stuff to take care of, these add up after a while. Some of my enclosures do have these in there, but I noticed the 2-ounce deli cups, they're cheap and they work fine. So don't get too caught up in the water dish. Just know that anything over like 1.5 inches is going to need a water dish for sure. So keep that in mind when you're setting up your enclosures. Make sure to have enough room for a water dish there in the corner. Either a Sprite cap, anything like that. All right, what step are we on? Number 4, 5? Step 5. Step 5. Step 5, and probably the final step, rehouses and dimensions. Dimensions are very important. Please, when you buy enclosures, please pay attention to the dimensions of the enclosure. I can't stress that enough. Don't take a huge spider, an adult or a 5-inch, 4-inch spider, and put it in an 8x8 enclosure. Please don't do that. Also, vice versa. Don't put a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch sling in a huge enclosure. You're going to lose it. It's going to die. So you want to keep it fitting. You want to keep it, the general rule is 3 times the size of the spider. So you have a 1/2 inch sling, it's probably going to be good in like a 3 or 4 inch cube. 4 inch max for a 1/2 inch sling. 4 inch max. If you're setting up an arboreal, I use these a lot. These are 32-ounce deli cups. You poke some holes in the top, put substrate up to here, lean a piece of cork bark in there, throw some moss. I actually have one here. So these are all Venezuelan sun tigers that I'm raising up. And as you can see the size of that spider there, they do fine. Next molt, these will need a rehouse. But for right now, they do just fine in here. It has 3 times the leg span of the spider to move around. It's got airflow. Like I said, airflow is very important. It's got substrate here. It's got a lean piece of cork bark. It's got webbing all over. So these come in handy. For arboreals, you can also use these. I showed you these earlier. This is my Sophiska, one of my Sophiska lowland. If they're a little bit bigger, or if you don't have those deli cups handy, you can use these. Substrate up to here, lean piece of cork bark, some moss, and you even have some room for a little water dish. This one covered up its water dish, but you even have room for a little Sprite cap or Gatorade cap or something like that for a water dish. Those spiders are about 1.5 to 2 inches, and they're in there. When they get bigger, you'll want to move up to something this size. You don't have to get glass. Again, glass is expensive, but you'll want something 8 by 8 by 12 minimum for any species across the board, unless it's like a Singapore blue or Poecilotherias get, rather huge. For those, I would move up to the 12 by 12 by 18, and I don't know if they make an acrylic 12 by 12 by 18, but I can't be wrong. There might be some out there. 5.5 gallon tanks, you can use those. I have my Schmitty female in a 5.5 gallon. She does great in there. She's a little too big for an 8 by 8 by 12. She's a monster. So all in all, you want to keep the size of the enclosure relative to the size of the spider. You don't want to put a big spider in a small enclosure and vice versa. No small spider in a big enclosure. I see all the time people, because I'm a moderator on the Tarantula Collective, all the time people are like, oh, I put a 1/2 inch sling in a 5.5 gallon enclosure, and then I'm like, why? Do you waste the time? Do you waste the effort to do something like that when you can just get a deli cup, or the round deli cups or the square deli cups, or go to Walmart and get a small food storage container? It'll be plenty for that 1/2 inch sling. When it grows, sure, go for the 5.5 gallon enclosure, but when they're small like that, you want to keep it around the same size as a spider. So 3 times the size of the spider. That's the general rule. Another thing too, pieces of cork bark. When you set them up, you want to give them enough room to actually climb the cork bark. You don't want to put, like my Pokey here, my Metallica, she has enough room to sprawl out on that cork bark. You don't want to put dirt way up to here and only give her this much cork bark. It's not really beneficial for her at that point. You want to keep it, again, you want to keep your sizes of the cork bark and things like that relative to the size of the spider. Rehousing. We got to talk about it. Rehousing. Please, please, please use catch cups. I have a bunch of these that I use for catch cups. I have spiders running all over my bedroom sometimes during rehouses because I am guilty of not using a catch cup. But for your sake, please, 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 please use a catch cup. It's going to help you. It's going to help control the situation. Let's say you have a Brazilian black or Arizona blonde, something that's more calm. You don't really need one of these unless you're like scared of handling the spider. If you choose to handle the spider, make sure you do it above something that's not a far drop. So when you're doing your rehouses, do it over your bed or over the bathtub or out in the living room on the floor or something like that, to where if that spider falls, you're not going to have to worry about a busted abdomen, because they can break off legs and fangs and stuff like that, but busted abdomen, not really much you can do. If you're rehousing something crazy, pokies, Stromatopelma calceatum, the featherleg baboons, Togo starburst baboons, something that's going to be flighty, even some of the ornithoctoninae that I have, you know, something that's that you're worried about it taking off, please use one of these. You don't want a spider like that in your house, especially OBTs. They thrive in this environment. Let's say you're rehousing an OBT, it gets away from you, you can't find it. It's going to be somewhere in your house. You don't want that. You don't want a wild OBT running around your house. I can promise you that. Being dry out here, it'll do well. Like if it could find food, it's gonna survive in your house. If you have like a more humid species, it may pass away. You might start smelling something weird after a while, and you'll find it. So a catch cup is going to do you 1,000 favors. Coax that spider out. I'll show you what I use. So this is what I use when I do rehouses. This straw is all beat up. Don't judge. So let's say the spider's in here. You're gonna coax it out slowly. Patience. Patience is a virtue. You're gonna want to coax it out by the back feet. You're gonna see it run up the side. Don't panic. You're gonna see it run up the side, and it'll come out here. At that point, what I like to do, close the lid. That way it doesn't go back in and cause more stress for you. Once it's out like that, take your cup. Let's say this is the side of the deli cup. Take your cup, cup it over, kind of coax it in. Keep it like this, or however you have it. But keep it open on one side. Kind of lure the spider in there. Close it real quick. You have the spider. You have it in here. Getting it out of the cup. Same thing. You're gonna, here's the new house. You know, you got, let's do a imaginary house here. Come behind it, right? You're gonna just carefully, you don't want to go in there, you know, flying around like this. Carefully come around, coax it, you'll see it come out. If you have, let's say, to use for example, geez, I don't even have an example here. Well, use this for example. So let's say I was rehousing this spider. You have the catch cup here. Keep it right there on the lip, right? Keep it right there on the lip. That way, when you coax that spider out, it's going to run from out of this cup into the enclosure. Chances are it's going to hide behind the cork bark or hide under the substrate. All you do then, put the lid on it, and you're golden. Bam, you just rehouse the spider. Sometimes I will say it doesn't go as planned. You'll go to get that spider out of here, coax it out, it'll run in the enclosure and take off out, you know, take off out on the other side. Or you'll leave like just a little gap right here, come out, go underneath the cup, like onto your hand. At that point, do not panic. The reason why people get bit, the number one reason why people get bit, is because they panic. If that spider happens to come out, end up on your hand, stay still. Take your hand like this, keep your hand like that. You got two hands, work with it. Don't move your hand fast, just kind of around like that. Chances are that spider's gonna stay still. It's out of the enclosure, it's out of the cup, it doesn't know where it is. Chances are it's gonna stay on your hand. At that point, you can try to do one of these. You can use that cup to kind of coax that spider back in there, coax it into the cup, close it real quick. If that doesn't work, I don't recommend doing this, but sometimes you don't have the option to not do this. Let's say you have that spider on your hand like this. Here's your enclosure. That spider's on your hand. Hold it like this. Coax that spider slowly, slowly. Remember patience. Coax that spider right into that. See what I'm doing here? Right into the container. I don't recommend doing that. A lot of times that doesn't really work, and they end up like up your arm and on your back. It's a disaster. But sometimes you don't have an option. Whatever you do, stay calm. Stay calm. If you panic, the spider's gonna panic. It's already on foreign ground. It doesn't know where it is. It doesn't know that it's on your hand. It's somewhere. And if you know what I mean? If you fling your arms around, it's gonna bite. It's probably gonna get you. Stay calm. You have a spider on your hand. It's not the end of the world. Keep it there. Take control of the situation. If it ends up on your hand. If it ends up on your back, use a mirror. I've had this before. Use it like this. Coax that spider to where you can see it again. See what I'm doing? Coax it to where you can get it around. Let's say it's on your back. Coax it to where you can get it on your shoulder or your chest or your arm. Somewhere where you can gain control of that situation again. If it happens to jump, then it jumps. There's not really much you can do. Grab your catch cup. Business as usual. Main thing is to stay calm. I cannot stress that enough. Stay calm. No matter the spider, no matter what, stay calm. I got one more step for you guys. Maintenance. It's not as hard as you think it is. You don't ever have to clean these guys out completely. I've had people ask me that we're getting into the hobby, do I have to do a substrate change? It's not a fish tank. You set them up kind of like a fish tank because they're kind of like a for eyes only kind of setup. But in regards of like changing the substrate completely out on a routine basis, you don't have to do any of that. The most you want to do, clean water dish, clean up any kind of bolus that they may drop, because if you don't, you'll end up with grain mites, you'll end up with mold. It's disgusting. Not that it's bad for your tarantula, but I don't trust it. If there's poop on the glass, don't use chemicals. Don't use chemicals. No Windex, no nothing like that. Warm water and a paper towel. And if it's really, really caked on, you can use like a plastic razor blade, or I have just a metal razor blade that works just fine. You don't have to worry about scratching the glass because these are pretty durable. And if you put that razor blade like, if you put it just like flush to the glass, it's not going to scratch the glass. It's when you go in at an angle, you're going to start getting scratches. But if you do it just right, where it's just flat against the glass, you're good. Scrape it off. And then use that wet paper towel to kind of clean it up. Use a dry paper towel. Do not use Windex. Don't use anything like that. If you're doing an enclosure, let's say one of them dies. Unfortunately, it does happen as part of the hobby. One of them dies. Clean that enclosure out. You can use vinegar. I hate the smell of vinegar. I don't use it. But I've heard of people that use vinegar and they rinse it out really good. And then they just let it, air dry. It cleans all the germs out. I personally use just hot water. Like I'll get that water as hot as it'll get to where you could barely touch it. And you just clean it out, rinse it out in your bathtub. I have a hand sprayer in my bathtub. Just rinse it out. Wipe it out with paper towels. If you have water spots on the glass, just go ahead with a razor blade again. Scrape those water spots off. Wipe it off. It's like brand new. Maintenance on these guys, I mean, it's very, very minimal. Keeping these guys alive is pretty easy, unless they die of natural causes, you know, things like that. But as far as just regular maintenance, there's not really a whole lot to it. That wraps it up for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, go ahead, comment down below. Give me a like and subscribe. I'm on every platform, basically. You'll see me around. I'll post all my links. I have a store, a merch store, everything like that. Join me every Thursday. Every Thursday I'm going to be posting a video. It's going to be Tarantula Thursday, and you're not going to want to miss out. It's going to be full of awesome information, and if it's not full of information, it's going to be full of awesome feeding clips or something. We're going to spend time together. This is kind of a new exciting venture into the social media world. As you know, I'm not very good at it. Even this video is super basic, but it gets good information out there. But there's no like camera tricks or anything like that, but that's the way I am. I'm just super basic guy. So join us next time. Don't be afraid.